Hello guys, please ignore the fact I'm in my pajamas and that my hair's a mess. It's been a long day. Anyways, today is actually a new sort of series on my channel where I'm going to be trying to teach myself how to build. Now, for this specific build, I did find a picture off of Pinterest, which I'll put on the screen somewhere, just to kind of give me a rough idea of what to do, because the two main things I really struggle with are roofs and windows. Now, this is actually split into two parts. So today's episode will be just doing the exterior and the windows, and then part two will be me decorating the inside. I just split it into two separate things because I was gonna get too overwhelmed with it otherwise, because honestly, building does really stress me out and I just really want to be good at it. So this is me attempting to get better at it. So I basically just started off with a rough shell. Now I did actually ended up changing this a little bit, but I think the biggest issue I do have is making the houses way too big and then it's just way too much for me to handle. So I purposely chose like the smallest lot they had in this world specifically. I have actually started this save in hopes of remaking every single building in the whole Sims 4 game. Now obviously that's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be quite a long series, but I just hope that I get better at it and then we can watch my first build such as this one versus one much later down the line. Now I did a lot of trial and error with the color scheme. I did keep the colors, as you'll see in a little bit, I did try and keep the colors quite similar to the picture because I didn't want to go too far away from the photo and then overwhelm myself, because I actually tried to film this yesterday and let's just say it went atrociously. I spent an hour and a half filming and I just ended up deleting the whole thing, and that will not see the light of day because I did go into crisis mode. I don't know why. I just got really panicky about building, which is so silly, I know, but it really does overwhelm me. So this took me about 30 minutes or so to do. It actually didn't take me the longest time and it honestly felt like over an hour. I thought I was doing it for ages, which is also why I split this into two episodes, because I thought it was going to be so much, like take me so much longer than it actually did. I think it was because last time I filmed this too, I was trying to do me talking while doing it, which I think was just too much. Like I was so overstimulated. So now watching it after I've done it and talking, I feel a lot better about it. So I'm not sure if I'll do that every single time, but for now, I feel like it's a little less pressure. Now, here is what I mean with roofs. So they kind of, I don't understand how to get them not to, I don't even know how to say it, but they kind of overlap and they look a bit funny and I don't know how to fix that. I think I did a decent job here. I didn't go too crazy with the roofing. I tried to keep it a little bit more subtle than what I would usually do, just so it was a little less stressful for me. And I honestly, this is the first time I can say that I've made a build that I don't hate the roof. The roof is probably took me the longest amount of time out of everything, just because I really wanted to try and make it, because on the image they kind of have a very basic roof and this is still a very basic roof. But I kind of wanted to play around with it just a little bit more, just obviously so I'm learning something rather than just doing the simplest one. There was a lot of going back and forth, a lot of delete buttons. And I actually also really struggle with terrain usually. I'm not sure what it is, but it really stresses me out. But I actually think with this build as well, it wasn't amazing, but it also wasn't horrific. So I'm pretty proud of myself overall. You guys are going to see the end build and you're like going to be expecting something amazing and it's just not going to be that. But I didn't play Sims growing up, to be honest. I always wanted to buy it, but my parents wouldn't let me because I can't remember what the age is on it, but they just weren't the biggest fan of me having it, which I do understand because some aspects of the game are a bit, you know. So I kind of didn't start playing until I was 14 or 15. I'm 20 now, but even then I probably didn't actually start playing until I was like 18, where I had my own computer and I could play. So I never really got into the whole building thing of it all. This is really the first time I've probably built a house just to build a house. You know what I mean? Like I've always built stuff for like Sims to play in that I didn't really like, but this is the first time I'm just building to build. Because I do watch a lot of Sims YouTubers, like Little Simsy, she's just so good at it. But it does make me feel better when I go back, and she has been obviously posting for years and years and years, and her old builds were still 10 times better than mine are now. But it's cool to see how much better she's gotten, so that's giving me some sort of hope. And then I also watched, I think Dr. Ashley's her name, and she does, I think, only building pretty much. So I watch her quite a bit as well, which is good to get some inspiration from. That being said, I've been watching them probably for years and years and years, and clearly none of the talent has rubbed off on me, but that's okay. It's fun to watch nevertheless. So as you can see here, I was trying to mess around with the roof a bit more just to get some more dimension on the first floor, because that's something else I struggle with when I do 2-story houses. I find the roof really hard to not look really strange. So I think I did an okay job at keeping it a little bit more layered than I usually would. But I did just have to move the balcony out a little bit more than I wanted to, because I wanted to make the triangular part of the roof centered. So I had to kind of move everything over. And I did actually struggle with this balcony a bit because I wanted to put another fence line a little bit further back, like against the roof, but I couldn't do it. But that's okay. You can't really notice it. And I didn't want to spend any more time messing around with it because I just don't think I could get it to work the way I wanted it to. That's another thing with this game. There's obviously some restraints, which does sometimes make it a little bit difficult to get it to look exactly how you want it to look. But, you know, that's all part of the fun. The amount of times I've built a house and I've just hated the roofs so much, like just do not like them at all. Or the windows, I just give up entirely. So I think the main thing that I usually get wrong with windows is I try to use too many different types of windows because I don't want it to look all the same, but then I go overboard and then it looks ridiculous. So for this build, which you'll see later, I was very, very mundane with the windows I chose, which I think was a good idea. So yeah, as you can see, I did stick with the blue color. It's a really, really light blue, but it honestly matched the picture pretty much perfectly. And that's kind of what I'm just trying to do at the moment. I'm not trying to go too crazy with it, because the only other thing I was thinking of doing is doing like one kind of brick and then the other one like paneling or something like that, like one half of the house that and the other half brick or whatever. Do you guys, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But I was trying to do like a half and half. That's the only other thought I had, but I didn't want to ruin it. So I did not do that. Then it took me quite a minute to pick out a door, to be honest. I don't know why it took me so long. It's just because it kept clipping. So then I changed it to medium wall height, but then I was like, no, this looks ridiculous. So I moved it back to short wall height because I think that is the easiest, especially with windows and 2-story houses. I don't know, because I see that a lot of people do use medium-sized walls. I'm like, how do you even do that? I just don't even understand. Look, one day at a time. One day at a time, we are getting there. So yeah, as you can see, this is when I tried to choose the windows. Now, a lot of the windows you can't place right next to each other, which is why it took me so long to find the right one, because I wanted ones that could be right next to each other, like they kind of are in the photo. Because a lot of them have like details on the top, which means they actually cannot be right on top of each other. And I could use move objects to put them next to each other, but with clipping and stuff, it just wasn't worth it. So I did end up going with these windows, which are honestly quite similar to the ones in the photo as well. Now, as for the ones around the windows around the side, I may change them once I've decorated the interior. This was just for a rough guide, and then I can always move them around once I have put a layout for the inside. Now, I will say decorating also is not my strong point, but I think if I go in there with the color scheme in mind, we should be all good to do that. Now, don't worry, part 2 will be up within like a day or two after I post this one. It's just, I could not do it all in one sitting. I'm just not built like that. But yeah, then I decided to move the whole house back just a little bit because I wanted to get some landscaping in the front. Now, as I've said, landscaping is not my strong point, so let's just be nice to me. Let's just all be very nice, and let's just remember that I'm trying my best. Because I don't like to use debug stuff. I know that it can be really good and it can make your builds feel more like it's actually in the location, but debug just stresses me out. And I've tried to use it before and it's just, I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on. None of it's organized, obviously, because it's just in debug, like just one big just plop of stuff. And it's just way too much for me to handle. So I've decided that I'm going to steer clear from stuff like debug until I feel 100% confident in building houses. Now, As we can see, I did add a nice white fencing. I just thought getting something in the back would be nice to kind of close it off a little bit. It is not a very big backyard at all, but I mean, it's a small lot, so what are you expecting really? But yeah, so I just added a little tree in the backyard, and then I spent a while just trying to find some trees that match well with the area. Luckily, it's kind of really easy to build here because it is so green and lush around it, so it's quite easy to find obviously green and lush plants to use. I usually struggle more in places like Oasis Springs where it is desert. I always find that hard because I don't know how to landscape well without using debug, so that's just a different mission for a different day. But yeah, I've literally never tried to really build anything other than a house, like stuff like restaurants and stuff. I have built one, but it was literally so bad, and it was just so that I could open a restaurant and not for like the actual aesthetics of it. So hopefully later in this challenge I'll be doing stuff like restaurants, cafes, bars, you know, all sorts of stuff. But we're just gonna start with some basic houses and work our way up slowly. But yeah, so I just added some bushes, you know, downsized some of them. I really wanted to use this tree because that tree is stunning, but it was just way too big. But yeah, this is where I actually used some terrain paint, and I just added some kind of florally ones, and then I also added a brick path to around the side of the house and just from the front of the house. And I did also add, yeah, a different flowery pattern just to make it a little bit more realistic, quote unquote. And then also, of course, added my bin. Now, I actually didn't do too much to the backyard. I guess that is exterior, so I probably should have, but I will be doing that when I do the interior as well, because I'm not really sure. It's obviously a family home. I'm just not really sure how many bedrooms to do. I'm thinking 3, so like 1 main bedroom and then 2 kids' bedrooms, but we'll just see how we go, one thing at a time. I did add a little bit of clutter to the front of the house, nothing too crazy. I might actually change this bench when I go back in the game when we decorate, because I kind of maybe want a different wood tone, but I just added some planters, and I did just do like a stone brick type thing for the foundations, and then I just added a little placemat as well. But yeah, I'm actually very happy with how this turned out overall, really. And then I did, yeah, go around the back, and I did also remember to add a platform out the back as well, because otherwise that was going to cause some issues for when I actually do the house layout. And knowing me, I probably wouldn't have noticed, and then someone would have commented being like, what's going on with the house? But yeah, I just added in some lights. That's all I did on the interior today, just so it didn't look as sad inside. And then yeah, so this is where I add the platform piece. I was kind of hoping to put a pool in this yard, but I don't think we have the space, but that's okay because I usually always put pools in my yards, so maybe it could be a fun challenge of actually doing something else with the yard for once. I was thinking we could do some playground equipment and stuff like that, because I feel like this is a family home. And I did also not put anything on the balcony out the back of the house, but I more wanted to wait and see which room it was going to be connected to before I put anything on there. It'll most likely be connected to the main bedroom of the house, but we'll just wait and see. But yeah, this is actually the finished product, I believe. So I'm pretty proud of it. Please don't bully me in the comments, guys, okay? I literally never build anything good ever. This is me just trying to get a screenshot, by the way. That's why you're getting so many random angles of it. But I'm actually quite proud of myself. But yeah, I also think it actually does go along quite well with the place it's in, which is good, because I always struggle with that, making it look like it actually belongs in the environment that it's in. And I'm excited to add my other houses and then just see it kind of come to life. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back in a couple days with episode 2 of me decorating the interior.